I don't care how many times Ubisoft wants to go to their metaphorical cash cow and milk the heck out of it. I love Assassin's Creed, and no amount of mean insults is going to change that. However, even I, as a hardcore My Little Pony, Assassin's Creed fan, have to admit that it has its flaws. As great as Odyssey was for most people, personally it was one of my least favourites in the franchise. It wasn't a bad game by any means, and sure, it had a ton of cool stuff to do in a massive, beautiful open world, but a lot of the game just fell off for me. However, I think if Ubisoft focused on these 5 things to either change or improve on the next game set in the Viking era, it is sure to be one Valhalla of a time. If you don't like these terrible jokes, I'd advise you to click away now, as I will not be keeping these puns low key. Anyway, here are 5 things I'd like to see change in the newest Assassin's Creed game. Let's begin. When Conquest battles were introduced in Odyssey, it was a fantastic idea. However, they were quite underwhelming. Instead of it feeling like an actual big-scale battle, it felt rather tame, small, and restrictive. You're kept in an area with around 20 AI members, you can't leave the area or you get desynchronized, and winning doesn't even mean anything, nor does picking a side. Since the newest Assassin's Creed game is going to be set in the Viking era, I think it would be so damn epic if the Conquest battles had a story, structure, and choice to it. For example, if you were tasked with taking over a castle, you'd have the choice of how to attack it. Would you storm through the front gates, take a few assassins in the night and try to sneak your way to victory? Or maybe you could launch an attack from the seas where you'd have to go through hailstorms of arrows shooting you from the castle walls, where you then have to storm the beaches, climb the walls with your army as the enemy is throwing stones down at you, then take your army through the city, slashing down enemies on your way to the castle, where you have one final battle, take down the lead and take over the area. Instead of having 1,000 conquest battles which all feel the same, you could have much less battles but make them far grander in size. So you have one where you attack a castle, maybe another one is a giant scaled war similar to that of Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones. I know I may be asking for a lot, but the conquest battles have some insane potential, and if Ubisoft could pull them off, then it would make the game an instant standout. Now, I may be in the minority when I say this, but I feel as though assassinations in Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey felt kind of pointless. Hear me out, you can no longer one-hit kill everyone, and that's fine, but that also means I can no longer take out a stronghold without being detected if there is one enemy, which there usually is, that can't be taken down with a single stealth attack. In Odyssey, it's far more beneficial to upgrade your melee and ranged abilities rather than your stealth, as you'll always be getting into close combat fights. Not to mention that it's actually faster to just rush in an area and kill all the enemies with your sword than it is to crouch around hiding from bush to bush, jumping down to them and sticking them in the neck with a knife, which for some reason only does 3 points of damage. Now, I'm not a games developer, but here's my 2 cents on how to fix this. Do what Sekiro's Shadows Die Twice did. In Sekiro, the stealth is very beneficial, but can't one-hit kill tougher enemies either. Instead, what it does is take down one of their lives, so even though it doesn't insta-kill them, it's still very helpful at cutting down that boss's health and making the fights fairer. Maybe this wouldn't work, but I really want stealth to be improved in future AC games, as right now in Origins and Odyssey, it feels kind of, well, weak in comparison to the bow and arrow and melee abilities.
Pay for her dishonor, for the life she has snuffed!
The story in Origins and Odyssey was good. There was some great moments. For example, the beginning with Bayek is pretty intense, and so is the part where you find out that your father tried to murder you in Odyssey. My issue isn't necessarily the overall story arc, but more the length and filler of the story. I love a good long story as much as the next guy, but in Odyssey especially, it felt like the missions were added in and extended just for the sake of increasing game time. Now, I don't mind filler. I've watched Naruto, as long as it's good filler. However, I can recall many times in Odyssey where I was just plain bored of doing 5 different things for one guy so I could move on to the next part of the main story. Take a note from Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Witcher 3. Both games have very long stories, but they are detailed, well told, have tons of twists and turns, and have fun missions to do within them. Whereas in Odyssey, a lot of the main storylines have you do similar things to that of the side missions. I don't want to sound like the story was trash, because honestly, it wasn't. It was good, but of course, it could be better. The parkour doesn't feel like parkour anymore. It feels more like Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you can climb anything and everything. Now, whether you like it or not is completely your opinion. Personally, I do like the ability to climb whatever my little fanboy heart desires. The issue I have is that the parkour isn't accurate enough. Compare the parkour from Odyssey and the parkour from Unity. Whilst Unity's parkour still had its issues, it was the best out of all the AC games in my opinion, because we had free range to move up or down without feeling like we were going to fall to our deaths. I'm not saying to completely change it back to that, I'm just saying that maybe a mixture of the two would do some good, as the current parkour system doesn't control very well. Now, I love a bit of grind as much as the next guy, but oh my freaking goodness, Odyssey took the grind so far I felt as though I was in a nightclub with some drunk college girl rubbing her bony ass up against my thang. Here's where I think the problem lies. You see, in Odyssey, you can't get through each main story without doing multiple side missions to level up first. Now, I don't think this is a big problem when it comes to people like myself who are playing the game on hard, but for people playing it on normal or on easy mode, they shouldn't have to do so many side missions to get to the next main story part. The main story should be doing most of the leveling up for you. There's nothing more annoying than wanting to get to the next main story mission, but being told I can't because I'd get my ass whooped. I, as well as many others, believe that the reason Odyssey was so grindy was to incentivize players into buying the microtransactions and speed up your progress. For shame, Ubisoft. For shame. I'll take that golden horsey. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to throw your laptop outside the window, or better yet, just like this video and subscribe. That way you can keep your laptop to watch more of these crappy videos. Bye, Z's.